Hello humans, Artist with the Fro here, and welcome back to the show. Let's talk about this. So, I know I just made my 2-minute video. This video is coming out the same day, and probably within the hour that I made my previous one. But I'm really going to talk to you guys about the truth on why this ban list came out the way it did, why we only got 3 cards unlimited off of it. So, people going around calling it the unlimited list. And so on and so forth, what this is going to mean for the game as a whole. So let's just jump into the actual, and as I readjust the camera here, let's just jump into the actual discussion. There are about 4 to 5 reasons why this list came out the way that it did. And it really doesn't take much to really look at, much of why this is. So this is your 10-minute video. For those people that wanted your 10-minute video, okay, this is what you guys get. I'm also not really going to be editing that much into it, but let's just jump into it. So the first and foremost point, or the first reason why this list is this way, is because of, obviously, the crisis and the economy. Now, it doesn't really take much of anyone to tell you that we are still within a global pandemic. While places are reopening, things are not back to the way that they once were. And as a result, there is no tangible reason for us to then have necessarily a ban list based off of the physical playing cards. When you look at, again, the way that the economy is kind of at in this state, and the way that we are at currently at this crisis. The fact that places are reopening does give certain communities more hope that we can hopefully start returning to locals. I know some locals are opening up, both not only in America but also around the world. But if every place isn't open, it wouldn't necessarily make it fair for them to open up places at all. Which kind of brings us to point number 2. Point number 2 is online has, as I mentioned before, no quantitative value. There is obviously no reason for Konami to base their ban list off of online tournaments. And this is not to say to the people that have been doing their online tournaments, oh, you're doing it wrong, you shouldn't be doing this, so on and so forth. I think that that's a way in which we've been able to retain the community at large. I think that's also been a way in which we've been able to reintroduce people to Yu-Gi-Oh! But the main point of it is that Konami is a company very invested in selling physical cards. It kind of delves into the conversation as to why they don't invest into online services like EDO Pro, Dueling Book, Dueling Nexus, so on and so forth. If you could play online, you wouldn't have a reason to buy the cards physically. So rarities wouldn't matter, so on and so forth wouldn't matter, unless they make it like loot boxes, which I can tell you right now I wouldn't appreciate, I wouldn't like, and I would not be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! If it was based off of a loot box system. So until I guess the general population kind of understands that online, while it is showing what possibly could happen if we were in actual tournaments, it has no quantitative value on how they are choosing their ban list. Had we had a YCS, had we had a regional or a national, you would have seen people running Adamantimators, running Eldritch. But who's to say if it was in person duels that the circumstances would have came out the same way that they were, where people are abusing Block Dragon, Halki-Fibrax, so on and so forth. So that's actually kind of gonna then move us on to our third point. And I don't even know how long this video is. I'm not really trying to stretch it out, but I really want to make sure that we cover all of the bases in this type of conversation. So our third point is, if Konami acknowledges online tournaments, now they will have to do that moving forward, or at least there will be an expectation of that moving forward. And that basically again states that if they do acknowledge that we are making our ban list based off of online tournaments, a lot of people will be cross when they aren't banning certain cards that are played online that aren't being played in a real setting. And I know a lot of people are saying, no, it doesn't matter, it's only for a time, we're only watching it because we're under these certain circumstances. But again, you have to realize that Konami solely bases their ban list off of the physical face-to-face interactions in the physical game. if they were to start making exceptions due to certain circumstances, they would either have to clearly state that this is a ban list solely based off of the data that we've collected from online tournaments, which would then prove that they're watching online tournaments. And then they would have to say, when we return back to traditional style of playing, this is what our new list is going to look like. So that's kind of like where we're at right now. And again, it really kind of goes back to that first point that a lot of our decisions that are being made, both on the economy side and on the holistic side as a whole, are based off of how we are managing this crisis. There's still a lot of people that need to make sure that they are doing the things that they need to do to stay safe. Still a lot of essential workers, but again, that's another conversation. Let's jump back into a children's playing card game as we move on to point number 4. So I think the thing that we need to look at overall is what did change, right? So nothing got hit, right? So what did change or what didn't change is the fact that yes, nothing got hit, which means that the price of your cards are still where they are at. Link Cross is still going to cost $20 to $25. Halki Fiber X is kind of around the $15 range. Again, your Adamantimators are still going for $50 and $60, and your Golden Boy is somewhere up there at $150 to $200. Your Jet Synchrons, all of your cards, etc., the prices of them aren't going to change anytime soon until we get confirmation that Konami is going to change, certain things. But my financial advice to those of you that are doing buyouts, to those of you that are selling your cards, is to go with the way that things have been going currently. If your cards are still selling for 50 and what on, make sure that you keep doing that. There is not going to be another list like this until September, and unless we get real, tangible news that things will be changing, Konami will have to address first that we are returning back to traditional dueling before we are going to see really any spikes or any drops in the prices of current cards. Now, that's not going to say that certain cards aren't going to change over time. We still have Rise of the Duelist, we still have Toon Chaos that needs to come out as well. So expect to see your extravagances, expect to see your Dragoon of the Red Eyes, Verte and Akanda. Verte might go back up, but again, it just really depends on the state of the game as those sets do come out, and the state of the world really as those sets come out. What that means overall, over looking at this list though, looking at what did get taken off, Altergeist are taken off. Multi-Faker has been kind of like Malicious, where it's been at 2, 3, 1, etc. Now it's back at 3. Some people might be playing Altergeist again, but Altergeist was never really a strong competitive deck against what we are currently facing today. We still have Adamantimators, we still have Salamangreats, we have Ignisters, etc. There's more, I would say there's probably a multitude of decks now that are a lot stronger than they were when Altergeist were at their strongest. So putting Multi-Faker back to 3, I mean, yeah, sure, whatever. It proves DZeef has a job at Konami. It proves that Altergeist are going to be where they're going to be, but it's not really going to impact the game as a whole. Necros of Unicorn and Ritual Beast Ulti Kanahawk. I'm doing a segment coming up soon about my thoughts on the treatment of ritual cards. Unicorn being at 3 is good for the Necros players, and Ritual Beast Ulti Kanahawk is good for the Ritual Beast players. That's not to say that they don't exist. That's not to say that the deck is not at a higher tier that it needs to be at, but there needs to be a lot more ritual support for these decks to be doing more than what they're doing currently. And of course we do have the Megaliths out, but again, it's very here or there. So for the people that do play Altergeist, Necros, and Ritual Beast, congratulations, you do have some of your cards that are off the list. For everybody else, nothing else was touched, so your deck is still going to run the same way that it has been running. I think that the last thing, my fifth point here, is going to be what's going to happen when the actual list does come out. And I think that that's something that we need to be aware of. Again, following everything, basing off of our first point here, Konami's going to have to make a statement about returning back to traditional dueling, about what their expectations are as we are making that transition. And as we are making that transition, then we're going to start getting information on what the ban list is going to look like. as the game does come out, or rather as the game does return, expect a lot of people to still have the opportunity to play the cards that they weren't able to be played. So I would say don't really even expect much to change from this. You're probably going to have people practice with the cards that and the combos that they've been using online with the actual combos that they're going to be using in person as well. So everything else is kind of gonna be dependent on what Konami decides to do as we do move forward. But as I said before, all of this again all stems from how the world as a whole is dealing with everything that's happening with the changes in our economy and our communities. So that's kind of everything that I have right there. That's all that I have for you guys. What are some other points that you think I might have missed? Please let me know in the comments down below. And with that being said, I've been the Artist with a Fro. That, my friends, is the show, and thank you all for watching. Take care.